The billionaire expected a meeting with his employee, but instead, a small boy walked into his office holding a folder bigger than his arms. What happened next changed both of their lives forever. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Black Inside USA for more powerful real-life inspired stories that touch the heart. The city woke with the usual hum, cars threading through the streets, office towers blinking awake like giants stretching before the day's work. High above the bustle, on the 42nd floor of the Harper & Cole corporate tower, billionaire CEO Daniel Harper prepared for what he believed would be an uneventful morning. Daniel was known for two things. 1. His sharp business instincts. His unwavering professionalism. He had a meeting scheduled with Maria Thompson, a diligent staff member from the Client Relations Department, someone who always delivered reports early and never caused trouble. Daniel valued people like that. But life, as Daniel was about to learn, sometimes rewrites schedules without permission. Down in a modest apartment across the city, however, Maria was not preparing for any meeting. She was leaning over her kitchen counter, pale, dizzy, fighting a flu that had struck her with unexpected force. She whispered apologies to her son, Evan, who stood by her side. "Mom," Evan said softly, "I can take the folder for you." "You always say Mr. Harper likes work done on time." Maria tried to protest, but Evan had already picked up the tan document folder, tucking it carefully under his arm. He was only 7, but he stood straighter than some grown-ups. He wanted to help. He wanted to protect his mother the way she had always protected him. And so, with a deep breath and shoes that felt too big for such a serious task, Evan stepped out the front door and headed toward the towering building where his mother worked. The boy at the front desk. When Evan walked through the revolving doors of Harper & Cole, the lobby receptionist looked up, expecting a delivery or a courier. Instead, she saw a solemn little boy in a sweater vest holding a folder with both hands. "Hello there," she said gently. "Are you lost?" "No," Evan replied, lifting his chin. "I need to go to the 42nd floor. My mom works here. She's sick today, so I came instead." The receptionist blinked, unsure whether to smile at the boy's bravery or gasp at his seriousness. Something about him, his posture, his politeness, made her realize this was no prank. "What's your mom's name?" "Maria Thompson." Recognition flickered in her eyes. Maria was well liked and admired for being dependable, quiet, and incredibly hardworking. "Well," the receptionist said, picking up the phone, "let's get you upstairs." Evan rode up in the elevator, his heart thumping with every floor that passed. He had never been to his mother's office before. He imagined important people, fancy desks, and windows overlooking the entire city. But he wasn't scared. He was doing this for his mom. The unexpected meeting. Daniel Harper was reviewing notes for the upcoming meeting when his assistant knocked. "Mr. Harper," she said slowly, "Maria couldn't make it today, but her son is here with the documents." Daniel frowned. Her son. Before he could ask further, Evan stepped carefully into the office, the folder still held tightly to his chest. Daniel blinked. He expected an adult, not a boy who barely reached the height of the doorknob. "Good morning, Mr. Harper," Evan said, reciting the line he practiced on the elevator ride. "My mom is very sick. She didn't want you to wait for the report, so I brought it." For a man accustomed to negotiating contracts worth millions, this moment stunned him more than any business deal ever had. He waved Evan closer. "Come, here, son." Evan approached the desk with steady steps. He placed the folder down and folded his hands politely. Daniel opened it, and was impressed. Maria's work was as thorough as ever, clear and polished. But he kept glancing at the boy. "You did this for your mother?" Daniel asked. "Yes, sir. She always says responsibility matters." Something in Daniel's chest shifted. Responsibility. His own childhood flashed through his mind. Memories of growing up with a single mother who worked multiple jobs so he could have opportunities she never had. Memories of walking to her workplace when she fell ill, quietly leaving her lunch on her desk because he didn't want to disturb her. He hadn't thought about those days in years. A conversation that hit deeper than expected. "Would you like to sit down?" Daniel asked. Evan nodded shyly. Daniel offered him a chair across from the desk. The boy sat perfectly still, his back straight, hands folded in his lap, mimicking the formality of the office. "Your mother is a very reliable employee," Daniel said. "She didn't have to send this today. She said her job matters," Evan replied. "And I don't want her to worry about losing it." Daniel's heart tugged at the quiet fear behind the words. "How old are you?" 7. "You're quite responsible for someone your age." Evan shrugged slightly. "Mom works hard, I try to help. Daniel exhaled slowly. His mother used to say almost the same thing. He could tell Evan wasn't one of those children surrounded by luxuries. His clothes were clean and neat, but slightly worn. His shoes, though polished, were starting to crease. Evan likely understood adult worries more than any child should. You must care about her very much, Daniel said. She's everything, Evan replied simply. In that moment, Daniel felt a wave of respect for both mother and son. He realized that while he built skyscrapers and companies, Maria and Evan were building something just as powerful: loyalty, courage, and quiet resilience. An offer Evan didn't expect. Daniel closed the folder. Evan, he asked, have you eaten breakfast? Evan hesitated. That hesitation was all Daniel needed. Follow me. He led Evan to the executive break room, filled with pastries, fruit, oatmeal, and polished silver coffee pots. Evan's eyes widened, but he didn't move until Daniel gently encouraged him. Go ahead, pick something. Evan chose a simple apple and a small pastry, thanking Daniel twice. Daniel poured himself coffee, then crouched slightly so his eyes met Evan's level. You know, Daniel said, your mom is lucky to have you. And I want you to know she isn't in danger of losing her job. She's valued here, truly, Evan smiled, relief flickering across his face. But I want to help her, Daniel continued. Do you think she'd allow that? Evan tilted his head. Help her how? Daniel thought for a moment. He didn't want to overstep, but he could improve her life. Quietly, respectfully. Well, Daniel said, maybe she could take a few paid days off to rest. And maybe we could adjust her workload a little so she doesn't have to worry so much. Evan nodded slowly. That would make her feel better. And maybe, Daniel added with a smile, she deserves a raise. Evan blinked. A raise? Really? I think she's earned it. Evan's smile grew wider, softer, filled with silent gratitude. The walk back to the elevator. When it was time for Evan to leave, Daniel walked him to the elevator himself, something his employees had probably never seen. Before the doors opened, Daniel knelt down. Evan, he said quietly, you remind me of myself when I was your age. Evan looked surprised. You were like me. Yes, Daniel replied, and someone once helped my family when we needed it. I never forgot. Evan nodded, absorbing the words like something valuable. If you ever need anything, Daniel added, you can come here. Understand? Yes, sir, thank you. As the elevator doors closed, Daniel saw the boy standing tall, shoulders squared, not because someone taught him to, but because life had required it. A mother's surprise. When Evan returned home, Maria was still resting on the couch. Sweetie, she murmured, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have let you go alone. But Evan ran over and gently wrapped his arms around her. Mom, he said softly, Mr. Harper said you're a good worker. He said you can rest, and he's giving you a raise. Maria's breath caught. A raise. He said that. Evan nodded proudly. I think he cares about you being okay. Maria leaned back, tears forming. Not sad tears, relieved ones. Grateful ones. She had fought so hard for so long, quietly, humbly, often unnoticed. But today, she felt seen. A change in the office. The next week, Maria returned to work. When she stepped off the elevator, she noticed something unusual. People smiled at her. Daniel's assistant greeted her warmly. Inside Daniel's office, he stood up when she entered. Maria, Daniel said, first, I hope you're feeling better. Second, your son is remarkable. Maria flushed with embarrassment and pride. I didn't know he would come here. He did the right thing, Daniel said. And because of both of you, I realized something important. Some people carry more than their job descriptions. They carry entire families. Maria swallowed hard. So, Daniel continued, I want to lighten your workload, give you a salary adjustment, and ensure you have the support you deserve. Maria's eyes shimmered. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. So instead, she nodded, a quiet thank you more meaningful than any words. Daniel knew she would never brag about this moment. She would simply go home and work harder, grateful for every break given. But he also knew something else. Her son had been the one to open the door, a bond that never faded. Over the years, Evan occasionally stopped by the office after school. Daniel would give him a high five or ask about his classes. Sometimes they'd talk about books, sometimes about life. As Evan grew, Daniel watched the same determination in him that he had seen on the day they met. Maria continued to thrive, eventually rising to a supervisory role. She never forgot the kindness shown when she needed it most. And Daniel, He never forgot the boy who walked into his office holding a folder bigger than his hands, yet carried himself like someone ready to face the world. The lesson that echoed through the building, the story of Evan and Maria quietly spread through the company. It became a reminder whispered in hallways. Behind every employee, there's a story. Behind every hard worker, there's a reason. Daniel began implementing new policies, more support for working parents, better leave options, wellness programs, and an open-door culture. People said the company felt different, kinder, more human. Daniel would always smile and think. It all started with a 7-year-old boy who refused to let his mother down. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Black Inside USA for more emotional, inspiring narratives that remind us of the power of kindness and courage.